You know, it's really funny if you think about it. Like, this is being labeled as an EP, and yet it's longer than quite a number of full length albums out there within the progressive rock stream. Yeah, it's always interesting what gets labeled as an EP and what gets labeled as an LP. But hey, I'm not going to not review this one just because it's an EP, so let's dive in. Others by Frost. So Frost is a UK neo-progressive rock band, and I love their music. I really got into them with their first album, like right off the get-go of Million Town. That thing just blew me out of the water in bringing a new flavor to the neo-prog sound. Like, it wasn't quite as operatic, it wasn't quite as theatrical an approach, but it still had that neo-prog atmosphere in a much more symphonic edge. They followed this up with the brilliant album of Experiments in Mass Appeal, which took that fun symphonic wave and moved it into a much darker, much heavier landscape. And like the neo-prog really dove into this. And then they took quite a long hiatus and they released Falling Satellites a couple of years ago to mixed reviews. Mine was more on the negative side on it. I still can't quite get into it. It just doesn't quite grab me all that much. So when I found out that they were releasing an EP, I got kind of excited because my favorite work from them up to this point is still The Dividing Line, an EP single found on the Philadelphia Experiment. Coming into this, you know, over 10 years in their career with only putting out about 3.5 albums, what do we find on Others? Well, Others is still that step forward that I was really hoping for from the band. It's less of a sidestep, step back that Falling Satellites was, and much more a progressive step forward. I'm getting a lot more of the blending of the two styles from their first two albums in a much more cohesive way. We're having the flavors and the fun symphonic atmosphere from Million Town on such tracks like Fathers, Exhibit A, and Drown, while still having that darker, menacing, heavy approach that we found from Claudia, even to a certain extent a little bit for Exhibit A, as well as Eat. And each of these tracks really dive into a different facet of the band. They really sink their teeth into a different style. And the track opens up with this explosive sound that we would have heard from, say, Experiments in Mass Appeal, with Fathers being this explosive punch of sound. And again, it's really channeling that Experiments in Mass Appeal aspect, where we've got this really fun harmonization between the guitars and the keyboards, and that synth that we have on there is just exploding and dripping with sounds. The only thing though is about halfway through, the song just takes a hard stop and it slowly has this small inflection going on, and then it just explodes once again. And at first I thought it was a little jarring. It felt like there was this full-on stop that I wasn't quite ready for, but after thinking about it and after giving it a couple of spins, I actually really enjoy this really hard stop because it gives you this off-kilter feel to the atmosphere going around with it. And that was something that they really captured within their earlier albums. And I feel like they're really capturing that same sound. But the next track of Claudia is much more soft. It's a lot more subdued. And I don't know if I quite feel this one as much. I do like the synth that we have on there, the atmospheric, but I also feel like this track, I don't know, there's a lot of harmonizations near the midpoint of this that brings about a new feeling about it, but I'm not quite as invested into it. Now, we come into kind of the single off of this EP of Exhibit A, and this thing just hits hard. I love the chorus. I love the interplay of sounds and vocalizations on here. The singing styles are very hard and very menacing. And it's interesting, I love the drive and I love the passion that we have on it, but there's this moment where they get this giant chorus going on. It feels like a Mika song, or Mika. There's a track from his called We Are Golden, and I feel very, there's something about that track that is definitely resonating on this one. Now, I love the next track, the first track of the second half of Fathom. I really enjoy how somber this is. I feel like this is what Claudia was trying to do, but in a much more tangible way. And I love the narrative style of this. I love that heart-wrenching tale that it's telling. I also love the fact that they don't shy away from breaking the general convention of songwriting where this guy is basically singing about his husband. And I don't know if it's the narrative switch that's going on because it's a point of view of a woman, or if it legit is this guy talking about his husband. And I really applaud that. I think we really need more of that right now. We don't have enough queer and gay songs on here. And I really hope that's what they're going for. Probably not. I have a feeling the narrator is a woman, but again, even though that gender bending is going on, I still really enjoy that. I still really like that. And again, I love the atmosphere. I love the sound of this. It's a shame that this is the shortest track off the album because I could really see myself getting into it. Okay, so I need to talk about Eat, the second last track off of this. This song, I don't want to like bring about too much like hyperbole or grandiosity in my like talking about this track, but in some ways this track is extremely revolutionary because it sounds very modern in its pop approach. Like it's feeling like something that, say, Billie Eilish would do, like some of her vocalizations and singing styles in almost that mumble pop that we have, but it's being presented in this progressive rock styling, and it's friggin' brilliant. Like, I'm gushing how innovative this track is in using these vocalized synth sounds to capture the rhythm and melodies of this track. And I'm blown away by the end result. It's menacing, it's dark, it's guttural without being like brutal, without being overly like aggressive, and not in an untangible way. Like it's still very pleasant to listen to. It's still very catchy. And then finally we come into Drown. Drown, I feel, is very reminiscent of, say, like A Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, especially within that keyboard work that Jem is laying down. I think it's the perfect way to end this album off. It's a soothing outro, especially after the guttural, menacing track of Eat. And I feel like it's such a it's a breath of fresh air after that really gut-wrenching track. So yeah, I love Drown. I love how it ends, and I love how it's a great playoff. That's about it for Others by Frost. I love this album. I really found myself digging into it and really having a grand time with it. This is one that I would easily pick up in physical format, even though it's so short. Honestly, I wish that they had put The Dividing Line on this album, even though it's about 10 years old. I still think if they had just maybe polished up Clouda, or maybe just leave that off entirely and then put The Dividing Line on here as like a final send-off, this would have been a brilliant full-length album. But I'm not going to sneeze at what we've got right now. What we've got right now is a brilliant album. It gets the Note seal of approval. Go out and check this one out. I think it's really worth your time. And that's about it for Others by Frost. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, Notes out.